Good afternoon, colleagues, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. I wish to start by introducing myself. I'm Dr. Stephen Kigera. I'm the head of quality services at MEDS. MEDS stands for Mission for Essential Drugs and Supplies. I'm also joined by my colleague, Dr. Joseph Muriu, who is our quality assurance manager and with whom we shall be presenting this particular abstract. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I think we shall be presenting on the topic of pre-qualification. You're saying that pre-qualification of suppliers is an important tool for decision making. So without further ado, I will start the presentation. We'll start with definitions, and simply put, pre-qualification is basically a pre-procurement process, or rather a pre-purchase process that helps you to investigate and assess the capabilities of a contractor to be able to carry out a contract upon award. And current practices of pre-qualification often start with a pre-screening procedure, which is based on a predefined criteria. So before you really invest and go the whole 9 yards, it's important that you screen your suppliers before you go ahead and do a detailed pre-qualification. So the most common example I could give at this particular point in time is one for WHO. So their pre-qualification program, which was set up in 2001, is a service provided to facilitate access to medicines that meet basically unified standards of quality, safety, and efficacy for HIV/AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. So some of the examples of pre-qualification schemes by WHO, I'll mention 3. There's a model quality assurance systems for procurement agencies. This is basically for good distribution practices and for national procurement agencies like ourselves. There's one for pre-qualification of products, basically IVDs, medicines, vaccines, and immunization products. And there's a special one for quality control labs, pre-qualification scheme for quality control labs, again by WHO. So basically looking at testing labs at national level and trying to upscale their standards. So we're seeing that the supplier risk is important, and especially for large enterprises. For the case of MEDS, we do deal with a lot of suppliers, and supplier risk forms a very big component of our total enterprise risk. And you're saying that if you look at the landscape nowadays, we're not just looking at quality from a supply chain perspective, but also other attributes have come into play and which have form an important basis for pre-qualification of suppliers. Here we're looking at issues to do with the environment, social and ethical impacts, issues of integrity, security, and organizational behavior. And then it's also important to mention the fact that supply chains are now becoming more and more complex, and organizations are increasingly vulnerable to loss of brand reputation and risk of financial loss. So some of the risks which I'll be talking about, where you look at supplier performance, environmental impact, natural disasters, disruptions in cargo, counterfeiting incidents, breaches of law, labor laws. Those are some of the things now that are coming into the picture, and for which organizations have to be careful about, especially where the supplier pool is quite large. And it's important to also mention the fact that if all these risks are not taken into consideration, then the organization stands to have damaged reputation. So I'll just go into mentioning a few of the risks that health supply chains face. I think MEDS is no exception to this. I've mentioned reputational risk, due to service interruption or quality failure. And we saw this, especially during this COVID period, when all of a sudden we found ourselves having to put a lot of measures to prevent poor quality products coming into a supply chain. Resilience risk, this is where we look at supplier failure when it comes to which results in an interruption to customer service. So if a supply chain organization is not able to meet its customer demands or customer needs, then it does face this kind of risk. Regulatory risk, so this is basically associated with dealing with suppliers who are not compliant with regulatory requirements. And finally, I'll also talk about commercial risk, where this is a risk of financial loss or cost overruns from poorly managed sourcing arrangements. I think earlier on in one of the discussions we heard from Dr. Masiga, who said this is a time when if forecasting wasn't done properly, then supply chains were faced with the risk of expiries because they're not moving their stocks. And if those risks are not really managed well, then an organization can end up even closing down. So some of the critical aspects of pre-qualification, I'll talk about some of the objectives. So the primary goal here is to reduce the likelihood of supply non-performance. Examples there being late delivery of products or even non-delivery or delivery of non-conforming products. And here we talk about issues of quality. A secondary goal there would be to ensure the supplier will be a responsible and responsive business partner in day-to-day business. So in conclusion, we are concluding by saying that pre-qualification is therefore a risk management strategy for organizations and especially procurement entities to reduce supplier-related risks. I did mention the fact that we start off with a pre-screening process, and some of the screening aspects which are very important when it comes to designing a pre-qualification program would include, for example, doing reference checks. Before you engage a supplier, it would be wise for a procurement agency to contact the previous customers of a supplier and ask about delivery performance or their adherence to contract terms. It's important also for a PA to be able to conduct financial status checks, as a supplier recently accrued significant debt that raises flags on solvency. And I think at this particular point in time, we find that most organizations did actually fall into this trap, and many of them have declared either bankruptcy or insolvency. Surge capacity, availability, this is very, very important. And here we talk about a supplier's capacity to deliver increased quantities within a very short time. And it is important because it gives critical information, especially when it comes to giving long-term awards, where demand is really tied to unforeseen market demands. Again, issues of COVID come into play, and for us at MEDS, it was quite important to deal with those suppliers who could be able to take on more orders from us at very short times and be able to deliver within the short lead time, so that we be able to serve, especially the exponential demand that resulted as a result of the pandemic. Indication of supplier quality. So it is important, especially from a quality perspective, that procurement agencies ensure that they deal with suppliers that have the required certifications. And the minimum here should be good manufacturing practices for those manufacturing either pharmaceutical products or medical devices. Some have gone ahead to bolster their QMSs with ISO, but the regulator here then comes into the picture to just enforce these standards so that supplier quality or products coming from manufacturers meet the quality standards. Fifth, I'll talk about ability to meet specifications. So most procurement agencies have developed their own specifications for either pharmaceuticals or non-pharmaceuticals. And the best way to test whether supplies meet these specifications is either one, you can take a pharmaceutical product to a quality control lab, have it tested based on the latest pharmacopoeia specifications, and just make sure that it meets the required standards. If it is a medical device, for example, then it can be evaluated just to make sure that its functionality is conforming to the specifications that have been set. And here we're also capping it up and saying that supplier audits are also necessary to check on the processes of manufacture, because there's no need of actually going ahead to test a product if the standards for manufacture have not been adhered to. It's also important to have the buy-in from internal customers. This is where procurement unit acts on behalf of internal customers within the PA. So for example, with MEDS, we represent a lot of, basically represent all the faith-based health facilities. And they do look up to us to be able to ensure that the suppliers who qualify or the products we stock on their behalf meet the required standards. So in certain cases, we do even take products for field trials and get their buy-in, and that also informs us about the quality of the product or the functionality, and that feedback we get it back to the suppliers for improvement, so that the internal customer's interests are also taken into consideration. So I've put the example of a pre-qualification process. This is basically one that was adopted from the model quality assurance systems as designed by WHO. And it's basically one that we adopt here, or we try to adopt here, where you're saying, if I can just quickly take you through it, you can solicit and receive expressions of interest from bidders. Remember, pre-qualification should be a voluntary exercise. So when we float expressions of interest, we only consider those who willingly want to participate in the exercise. From there, we receive product information and site information, which then is screened. And where we have products, the products, we request for product samples. And the product samples will then be taken through a product analysis or evaluation. As we screen information regarding the site, we also plan for supplier visits. And all that information is collated together, and a pre-qualification decision is then made. We go ahead and include this supplier into our pool of pre-qualified suppliers. Once we do that, we do keep monitoring and evaluating our suppliers. And I remember Dr. Masiga did talk about supplier conference. It is during forums like those where we also give feedback to suppliers and tell them how they're performing, either in terms of deliveries or the quality of their products, because that feedback is important in terms of helping them to improve. And then, of course, you have to go through a requalification exercise after a specific period of time to again reassess your suppliers and just find out that your risk from a supplier perspective is also being kept within certain levels. So Dr. Muriu, I think you're on the call, so you can take it over from there.
Thank you, Dr. Kigera. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. As Dr. Kigera has said, my name is Joseph Muriu. I'm the quality assurance at MEDS, and I'm a pharmacist. So in addition to the background that my senior has discussed, we went further and did a research or a study using the data that we have at MEDS. And basically, the objective of the study that we are doing was to assess the relationship between this pre-qualification, both for the product and the suppliers, their relationship to some performance indicators. And for these performance indicators, we selected the quality complaints. That is a percentage of quality complaints that were being reported by our clients, and also the growth in the SKUs, or the stock keeping units, or in other terms, the number of products that were being stocked at MEDS. And the method that we used was we analyzed this data using statistical softwares, and then we are going to present it, as you can see on the slide, in form of a scatter diagram with a line of best fit. So I hope you are going to follow through. So I have 4 graphs that I'm going to present, just showing the trend or the relationship between the pre-qualified products and quality complaints for the first graph, and then we discuss the others as we proceed. So what you can see on this slide is a representation of the data cuts across from 2015 to 2021. So what you can see on the slide is that as you increased on the x-axis, you can see this, the x-axis is a number of pre-qualified products. So as you increase the number of pre-qualified products over the years, we noticed that the percentage of complaints or quality complaints that were being reported by our clients were declining. So in statistical terms, we say that there was a negative correlation, and that was a good thing from where we sit, because it shows that pre-qualification has a positive impact on customer satisfaction. Maybe you can move to the next slide. Next slide, Dr. Kigera. So on this slide, we are showing the relationship between the pre-qualified supplier. The previous one was on pre-qualified products. So the pre-qualified suppliers, as we increase our pool of pre-qualified suppliers since 2015, we also noticed that the percentage of quality complaints declined or were reducing. So again, it's a good relationship. It's a negative correlation. Here, we were assessing the effect of pre-qualification or the relationship between pre-qualification and the growth in the number of products that we stock at MEDS over the same period. And here you can see there's a positive correlation because the graph is tilted upwards. So what we are saying here is that as you pre-qualify more products, then the number of products that were being stocked at MEDS was increasing over the same period. Next graph. And then the final one is showing again, as we increase the number of pre-qualified suppliers, there was a sustained growth in the number of products that we stocked and the number of products that we availed to our clients. So basically, in summary, is to say that a supply chain organization need to use the data they have, because we have a lot of data in our systems. I know most of us use computerized systems. So we have a lot of data which we can use to derive decisions for the supply chain. And the call here is because the graphs are limited to what data we have at MEDS, we'll also encourage the other distributors and players in the industry to also assess on their side what the data they have is telling them, and then they can use it to make informed decisions. That's a summary of our presentation. Thank you very much.